moving on toward that, what are the various how we apply PLS-SEM? As I told you that previously there was a concept of measurement model. It was separately run, and then there was a structural model which was used with the regression analysis. So the PLS-SEM in fact combines these both two things. Now the point is that what do we mean by the measurement model? In fact, this once we model the PLS-SEM in the smart PLS, so of course we have to follow the same procedure. First we go for estimating the measurement model, then we go for the structural model. But this the software is doing simultaneously these two things. But for the explanation purpose, first we explain the measurement model, which is called also a confirmatory factor analysis, and then we go for the structural model analysis, which we can call it path analysis, or we can also call it a hypothesis testing. So just to share with you that what do we mean by our what are the various things about the measurement model. Before just to tell you that what are the various reliabilities and varieties, to quickly share with you that this is a kind of a construct with the four items, which is and this is called a reflective measure or a reflective construct. So it's important to know the difference between reflective and formative construct, because a lot of time we do use, but we do not know that whether a construct is a formative or it's a reflective. So reflective construct, the assumption is that item is reflecting the major construct. The items or the questions are reflecting or the representing the major construct, and if an item is not reflecting the major construct, that item could be deleted. So the point is that the basic thing is that to what extent an item is reflecting the main construct. So that is the reflective construct. Whereas in the formative construct, the assumption is a bit different. Assumption is that the items are forming the construct. So it means that if for example, we are reducing one item, so the construct is incomplete. So for example, there's a very famous model of the service quality. So there are the 5 dimensions, for example, of the service quality. And theory is saying that these 5 dimensions are important to form the service quality. So we cannot delete even a single dimension of the service quality. So this is called a formative construct. Whereas in our normal constructs, like for example, if I'm asking something about motivation and I have a various items, so the items which would be reflecting my construct, those are reflective constructs of, those are the real constructs of my items of my construct, and those were not representing, obviously I'll delete it. So for the reflective, most of us, we work with the reflective construct, but sometimes we can also come up with the formative construct. So that's why it remains very important that whenever we adopting a construct, we have to know that whether it's a formative and reflective, formative or reflective. The interesting thing is that in PLS Smart, it has given an option to test that whether a construct is truly formative or not. For example, I'm unsure about the construct of maybe the organizational performance, that like that my point of view is that organization performance has the 3 major performance squads. That's the productivity, innovation, and maybe there's the intellectual performance. And then these 3 sub-dimensions are further dimensions. And I'm not sure that whether this is a formative construct or it's a reflective construct. So what I can do is, in the PLS Smart, I'll just make it a formative construct, and then I go for the test that's called the confirmatory tetrahedral analysis, CTA, that we'll be discussing later on. So that test will let us know, that will inform us that whether the construct is formative or reflective. So that's again one of the, you can say that strength of the PLS Smart, that it is also highly robust and quite fair to differentiate between reflective and formative constructs. So again, to repeat, the basic theory behind the formative construct is that the items are forming the construct. It means that whatever the items are, each item is important and we cannot delete any of the items. Whereas in the reflective construct, we say that the items are reflecting, assumption is that items reflect the main construct. So if an item's factor loading is lower, so we can delete that item. So reflection, when we are talking about that item is reflecting the main construct, so how do we know that item is the main is reflecting or is a reflection of main construct? So we have to see the factor loading of that particular construct. So factor loading tell us the percentage or extent to which one item is representing the main construct. So if obviously factor loading is low, I'll be having a very brief discussion on that, that to what extent factor loading is acceptable. If it's lower than the acceptable limit, so we can remove that item from that. When we model the formative and the reflective constructs, the arrow's direction in fact inform us that what is whether it's a reflective construct or it's a formative construct. The present construct, you can see that the arrows are toward items. So this is a reflective construct. This is showing that the construct is the dominating force and the decision would be on the basis of the factor loading. So the arrows are toward constructs. Whereas in the formative construct, if you are seeing, the arrows are toward construct. So this is showing that the items together, they are forming the construct. So the same rule applies in the smart PLS once we'll be modeling. So you can see that will be the same rule over there. Again, there's another term which is we call it a first degree construct, second degree construct, and in rare cases there's a third degree construct. So what do we mean by that? So the first degree construct is a normal construct. Once we have certain items, we have a certain questions to gauge, to measure a construct or form of variable. For example, for the job satisfaction, for the performance, maybe for the vendor selection or something. These are the constructs, which are constructs have the direct sum question. There is another construct which is called the second order construct. So second order construct means that there's a main construct and then construct has a subconstructs. And then the subconstruct has the items. For example, we are recently working on the intellectual capital, so that's why the examples it's easy to come in my mind. That, for example, the intellectual capital of a firm is a concept which talks about human capital, relational capital, and the process capital of a firm. So the intellectual capital construct. Why? Because the intellectual capital has the three dimensions, that is human, that's a relational, and process capital. And again, human capital has the certain items to be asked about the education, about the experience, about maybe the skills of the human resource in the organization. The relational capital is about the relationships, all the questions, set of questions, and then process capital about the processes, the strength of the process of organization. So you can see that it's the first is the intellectual capital, then the subconstructs, three human capital, relational, and structural capital, and then those three constructs have further items. So in this case, we call it as a second degree construct. So the construct, subconstruct, and then items. Now, for example, in the very rare cases, it happens that the construct, then there's a subconstruct, and then again there's a subconstruct, and then there's the item. For example, in taking the same intellectual capital, it has a capital. Now again, for example, human capital has three items: education, experience, and skills. Further, education is being asked by three questions that, for example, about the quality of education, about the use of schooling, about the technicality of education. Likewise, experience is being asked by the various questions about the organization tenure, the level of responsibility, related industry experience, and all that. So in this case, you know that it's becoming a even third degree construct. The construct, it has a subconstruct in terms of the three dimensions, then those three dimensions are further dimensions. Those dimensions are being further gauged with the help of the items. But normally, let's I'm just tell you based on my experience, what I've seen is if we go beyond second order construct, there could be a lot of mess, there could be a lot of problem, measurement problems. So I'll suggest you to not go beyond second order. And the second order construct is obviously that we can do. Then this is first that how first degree, second degree, and third degree constructs are. Then again, there's a very important discussion on the way these second degree constructs are formed. For example, the construct which you are seeing now, this construct is a second degree construct with the items being reflective, whereas the subconstructs being formative construct. So this kind of construct is called a reflective formative construct. It means we can remove the items if they have a lower factor loading, lesser factor loading, but we cannot remove the subconstruct if it has a lower factor loading. So this kind of a construct is called the reflective formative construct. But there could be another option. It could have been a reflective construct. So in that case, the arrow's direction would be obviously toward these arrows direction. From the construct towards would be subconstructs, and then from subconstruct to items. In that case, even if the subconstruct is not having the proper factor loading, we could have removed that. The third case would be, so one is which is present, it is the reflective formative. The second could be, which is we call it reflective, and the third could be formative, in which the items are forming the subconstructs and subconstructs are forming the constructs. In that particular case, we cannot remove any single item or single subconstruct from our that particular measurement model. Which is in fact rare cases. It does not happen very frequently. It may be a very exceptional construct or the formative. Normally, the second order construct is a reflective formative, with the immediate or with the subconstructs being formative and the items being reflective. So that's the normal most of the constructs in most of the fields, including the management sciences and the social sciences, economics, and all that. So we find most of the constructs, but the second order construct, they are the formative reflective construct. So this is how it works.